prepare for
Because the egg is going to be, so it has to
prepare
for it.
yeah,
So-
to prepare for the egg.
To prepare for the egg or for something else? Is it for the egg?
A baby.
We need a name. We need a baby is now in various
Fetus.
stages.
Fetus.
Not fetus, not fetus yet.
Embryo.
Embryo.
Oh,
After fertilization, that one cell which forms is the zygote. That zygote turns into an embryo, and that embryo has to get implanted into the uterus. And for that, this uterine lining is prepared. Okay, so 1 to 7 days. If fertilization has not occurred, then the females, they bleed because the uterine lining, it breaks, and it, through blood it comes out, right? Then from the next, now first 7 days, this is what happens. And after that, the cycles, because it's a cycle, so the womb starts preparing for the new process, right? Because this is a repetitive process, right? So it will start preparing for the new fertilization. Maybe the fertilization will occur. Maybe the embryo needs to get implanted. So 8 to 11 days, the lining is again being prepared, and so that the embryo can get implanted into the lining. Okay, what happens after that? 8 to 11 days this happens. What happens between 12 to 17 days? So Ria.
Ovulation.
Ovulation. Now, what is the difference between ovulation? What is this? And what is the difference between ovulation and menstruation?
Ovulation, menstruation is when the uterus lining breaks down and leaves the body. Ovulation is when the egg is at its most fertile, meaning that it's traveling from the ovaries to the fallopian tube,
Okay.
and it's ready to be fertilized.
Excellent. So ovulation is just the egg coming out of the follicles and reaching into the fallopian tube. How long does the egg stay there? Yes. Okay, let Ahan speak. Ahan, how long does the egg stay in the fallopian tube?
So in the fallopian.
Or my question is, I'll frame it again. How long is the egg will survive?
It's 5 days.
Generally, it is 3 days.
3 days.
Okay. So for generally, on an average, it is 3
Why
days.
is ovulation from 12 to 17 days?
Yeah, because it is not, it's the body is a body, right? Usually it is 14 to 17 days. Usually ovulation occurs on the 14th day. But for some females, it can happen in 12 days. It can happen in 13 days. So we keep a window. So that window is but the most fertile is 14 to 17.
Okay.
Okay. Then what happens in the next? So it waits for the sperm to reach. Sperm doesn't reach, then the next process starts. So 18 to 25. What happens there? (18 to 25). What happens in 18 to 25?
Miss, I'm getting a call. Can I just have a second, please?
Aryavir, what happens from 18 to 25 days?
I'm not sure about this.
So there are only two possibilities. Either the fertilization has happened or not. So now we're talking, because we're talking about menstrual cycle, that means that fertilization has not occurred. Okay. That's why fertilization did not take place. Now what will happen from 18 to 25 days?
Miss, can I just go get my charger?
Yes.
Doesn't like
the fertilization did not take place. Now what will happen?
Doesn't everything like break down?
It will, okay. It will, but not between 25 days. That will happen on 26th and 28th day.
The corpus fades away.
So in this, there's something called as corpus luteum. All right. That corpus luteum, it forms only because it is preparing the uterus for the pregnancy. But if that doesn't happen, the corpus luteum needs to fade away. So in these days, we know that fertilization did not occur. So in these days, the corpus luteum will slowly fade away. Now you will see how we will relate this to the hormonal changes also. So later, not right now, later. Okay. How the hormones are also going to assist in this. And the last 26th and 28th day. So 26 to 28 days. What will happen?
The lining detaches
The
from
lining
the
will start
uterus.
detaching itself, and slowly, it is going to lead to the menstrual cycle, the day 1 again. Okay,
That's the breaking down.
right. So that's when the breaking down and the bleeding which occurs in females, that happens from so the cycle again starts, and this is like a cycle, so keep on happening again and again. Okay, Ahan, are you done with the call? Okay, now very important, the first 11 days, 1 to 11, that's called the follicular phase. What is it? What is it? It's the follicular phase. And the next, from the day 12 to the last day, the 28th day, that is called the luteal phase. Luteal phase, okay? So follicular phase, and we'll go into the details of this slowly, all right? So I hope the phases, the parts of each phase is clear. Day 1 to 7, then day 8 to 11, then 12 to 17, and then 12 to 17, 18 to 25, and 26 to 28. These are coming in the luteal phase. I hope this part there's no confusion. Now we are going to relate it to the hormones. Before we go into the details of the hormones, we are aware of various organs, the various parts of the uterus, and we know what is the function of each. We know what is ovary. We are aware of these words we did in the last class, right? Ovary, oviduct, uterus, cervix, vagina. We also have a vulva, which is just protecting the internal structure, right? So are we aware of all of these words? So we can skip, because we did all the details of this last class, right? So we can skip this. Let's get into the cycle now, all right? We've already talked about this before, so I want to first go here. Okay, here. So the menstrual cycle is controlled by negative and positive feedback mechanism involving ovarian and pituitary hormones. So what exactly is participating? Okay, let's watch one video and then we will come back to this. Hold on, I'll just share. We will come back to this. You all can see my screen?
Yes.
To understand the various ways that medical science can assist reproduction, it is important to understand how the reproductive system functions in both sexes, because the cause of infertility often lies equally with both men and women. The main players in the female reproductive cycle are the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. Their activities are closely coordinated. Each month, one or other ovary releases a single egg, an event known as ovulation. It is brought about by a series of complex interactions between the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. The pituitary gland is itself under the control of this small area of the brain known as the hypothalamus. A new menstrual cycle begins when the nerve cells of this center secrete a hormone called gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, GnRH, into the network of blood vessels which surrounds the pituitary gland. Stimulated by pulses of gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, cells in the pituitary gland secrete another hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. FSH travels in the bloodstream, reaching the ovaries. There it stimulates the formation and growth of an ovarian follicle in one or other ovary. The follicle consists of an egg, a number of surrounding cells which secrete estrogen hormones, and fluid. FSH helps the egg to mature and prepares it for release. As the follicle matures, the hypothalamus increases secretion of GnRH. This in turn stimulates the pituitary to secrete a second hormone which acts on the ovary. This is luteinizing hormone, or LH. Toward the middle of the cycle, there is a sudden peak in the blood level of LH. This acts as the trigger for ovulation. Within minutes of its release, the egg is guided by suction through the fringed opening of the outer end of the fallopian tube. starting it on a journey which will take 5 or 6 days as it passes down the tube and finally reaches the cavity of the uterus. Meanwhile, after the follicle ruptures, it is converted into this yellowish body known as the corpus luteum. Cells at the corpus luteum secrete the hormone progesterone, which brings about important changes in the lining of the uterus, preparing it for possible pregnancy. In fact, the lining of the uterus, known as the endometrium, undergoes changes in response to hormone levels during the cycle. In the first half of the cycle, known as the follicular phase, the developing follicle secretes increasing amounts of estrogen hormone, which encourages regeneration of the endometrium. After ovulation, there are important changes in the endometrium, aimed at making it suitable to receive a fertilized egg. These changes are brought about by a secretion of progesterone from the corpus luteum. The secretion of progesterone is maintained for several days, but if the egg is not fertilized in that time, the corpus luteum withers, and falling levels of progesterone and estrogen trigger the shedding of the uterine lining as the menstrual flow. The cycle then starts again.
Okay. So, cameras on, everybody.
Miss, I'm on hotspot. I'll keep my mic on.
Okay. Now, what are the three? How many hormones did you hear in this entire video? How many of them? Ahan.
There was FSH.
How many? 1,
Oh.
2, 3, 4. How many?
4.
There were 4 hormones. Okay. Where are the hormones coming from? Like, what is the source?
The brain.
The brain. Okay. So hormones come from a gland, right?
Yeah.
Right. So which gland?
Pituitary gland.
Pituitary gland. Where is pituitary gland located?
And
Right,
the pituitary gland is in the brain.
In the brain. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the 2 hormones which are coming from the pituitary gland?
Miss, can
Yeah.
you repeat your question? Sorry, I couldn't
What
hear
are the 2 hormones which are coming from whose source is the pituitary gland?
Estrogen.
No. Estrogen is from the
Isn't
Ovaries.
ovaries, right? Yes. Okay, Ria.
Miss, there's from the pituitary gland, we have the GnRH, which releases 2 more hormones, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, so the FSH hormone, which causes an egg to mature in the ovary,
Okay.
and the luteinizing hormone, LH.
Luteinizing. So there are 2
Triggers
hormones
ovulation.
primarily. FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone. Okay. And the other one is luteinizing hormone. Now there are stages in which it will work. Okay. So first of all, the pituitary gland is going to produce this FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone. Okay. What does this? It's stimulating something. What is it stimulating? What is it stimulate? This hormone will stimulate something. Arushi, what is it stimulating?
It's stimulating the egg.
The follicle.
The follicle. What is this follicle? What is this follicle? Ahan, what is a follicle?
Miss,
Follicles are?
Miss, I know what a hair follicle is.
Okay, no. In this case, what is a follicle?
Oh. Is it in the ovaries? It's what creates the egg. Yeah.
Right. So these are the places where eggs are kept. All right. So it is going to stimulate. Now this pituitary gland is going to release FSH, which will stimulate all of them. Okay. Out of that, how many eggs do we want at a time?
Just one.
Only one. So one of the follicles need to open up. And which one will open up? Where the egg is most mature. So what is the work of pituitary gland? The first thing that the pituitary gland is going to do is FSH releasing. Okay. What is FSH? It is follicle stimulating. So it is going to stimulate a follicle. Okay. There's a hormone which is released to stimulate the follicle. What is a follicle? It's a place where the eggs are like kind of staying in, right? These follicles need to open up. When they open up, then what happens? the egg will come out, but only one egg we want. So we want the most mature egg to come out. So only that follicle opens up. Okay, that happens, and then the egg is matured. So the egg is matured in the ovary. So that it's stimulating the follicle one, and then it's also doing something else. It is stimulating the ovaries also to release estrogen. Where is estrogen released now? What is the source for estrogen?
Miss the ovaries.
That's the ovaries. Very good. Now that we know that the egg is mature in the ovary, and the estrogen, the ovary is stimulated for production of estrogen. That has happened. Now do we need more and more follicles to keep on stimulating? Do we not want that? No. So somebody needs to tell the pituitary gland, somebody needs to tell the follicles to stop stimulating anymore, right? So what do we need to stop now? We need to stop the FSH. We need to stop stimulating the follicles.
That's the LH, right?
Yeah. So who does it? No, not the LH yet. Estrogen tells the FSH to stop. Because we do not want more than one egg at a time. Otherwise, all the eggs will start popping out. We don't want that, right? Okay. Then other works of estrogen, it repairs and thickens the uterus lining, because it's now the uterus has to start preparing for pregnancy, right? Then it will also, so it stopped the FSH. Now it will stimulate the pituitary gland again to release LH. What is LH? We are now into the next phase. That is the luteinizing hormone. Again, this luteinizing hormone is where? Yes, Ria?
It's from the pituitary gland.
Again. So this ovaries, it's like stages. FSH matures the egg, stimulates the ovary for estrogen. Now estrogen, that is ovaries are stimulated, estrogen is produced. It will tell FSH to stop, and it will repair the uterus and then stimulate the pituitary gland again for production of LH. Now the LH is again in the pituitary gland. LH is the luteinizing hormone. It's in the pituitary gland. Now it will start triggering the ovary again for what? For the release of the egg, one egg. So ovulation, for the process of ovulation, the process of ovulation will occur because of the luteinizing hormone, because it was triggered by that only. Okay.
Miss, what triggers the progesterone?
Okay. So then progesterone is now the luteinizing hormone. They're like stages.
Yeah.
Okay. Now progesterone is produced once the ovulation occurs. Then progesterone, then ovaries are stimulated, and then progesterone is released. Okay. Now this will keep on maintaining the lining, but only for a certain time. Do we want to maintain the lining throughout?
No.
No. So
No.
it has to be maintained only for a middle part, right? For a small time only. We need to maintain it, right? So this progesterone is going to maintain the lining of the uterus during the middle part of the menstrual cycle, and in case pregnancy occurs, then we want to maintain. So
I have a question.
yeah.
During the time when the menstrual cycle is occurring, you can still get pregnant, right? But the egg is being released. So how can you still get pregnant?
During the menstrual cycle. Yeah. So see, okay. Now that is something which is not the usual process. Now this is a usual process, Arushi, okay? What we're talking about right now is a usual process. Ideally, there should be only one egg released, the uterus prepares itself. This is something we're talking about right now, which is an ideal process. But many a times, it doesn't happen like this. We need only one egg, but how twins are formed?
Yeah.
Right? The twins can be with 2 eggs or with 1 egg only. So depending on like what happened. So these are certain things which are exceptional cases, right? These are not regular normal cases. What we are talking about right now are the normal cases. That is ideally how it should happen. But of course, there is a lot more intricacy into this. It's not that straight and simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then we come to the next. So now let's go through the entire flow. Okay. So menstrual cycle in the first, from when to when does this menstrual cycle happen? From when to when?
Yes.
I don't understand.
So it's the menstrual cycle will start in a female when the female hits the puberty,
Puberty, yeah.
and will go up till when?
Until menopause.
up till menopause. Okay. Only during pregnancy, the menstrual cycle will not happen. Otherwise, throughout the life, ideally, it should happen. Okay. Right? The natural way it should happen. Okay. Then comes there are two phases. First is the follicular phase. So first half is called the follicular phase. Here, what happens? The first half, the follicles are there are various follicles in the ovary. They will develop. Okay. Each follicle is going to be stimulated, will have an egg, and it will be stimulated. But only one will like pop out actually, from which one egg will be released, right? While this is happening in the ovary, the uterus is also preparing itself for the pregnancy. So at the same time, the endometrium or the lining of the ovary of the uterus is being made, all right, and it starts thickening. Okay, egg is released. After that, what happens? The follicles are broken, all right. One follicle has broken, egg is released. Now that follicle, what happens to that follicle? Egg is released, it from the fimbriae, it goes into the oviduct. But what about the follicle? What happens to the follicle?
It degenerates.
Rest of them will degenerate. What about this one? This one which released the egg, there are two types of follicles. One which is releasing the egg, and the rest of them which is not releasing the egg, right? Which are not releasing the egg. Those will degenerate. But what about the one which has released the egg? What happens to that? There, yes, Priya.
They basically break open, which releases the egg into the oviduct.
So that's fine. But then what happens after egg is gone? What happens to that follicle after that?
Yes, I don't know.
That becomes into a body which is called as the corpus luteum. What is it? It's the corpus luteum. All right.
Is this where the LH is used?
Sorry?
Is this phase when the LH is used?
This is the phase where LH is. Yeah. We have entered the luteal phase now. Okay. Now the endometrium is continuously preparing itself. And if fertilization occurs, if fertilization does not occur, the corpus luteum in the ovary, corpus luteum is just helping in progesterone secretion. Okay. But once that is, if it is fertilization does not occur, this will also break down. This will also go away. And thickening of the endometrium in the uterus also breaks down, and it is shed through the process of menstruation. So is the entire process clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's quickly talk about the various hormones also which are working here. All right. So the 4 hormones that help us during the menstrual cycle are, what are the 4 hormones that are helping us during the menstrual cycle?
FSH, LH, estrogen, and progesterone.
Very good. Out of these, which one are protein hormones released from the pituitary gland?
LH and
LH and progesterone, I think.
LH and
Estrogen.
LH and FSH. They are the ones which are released from the pituitary glands. What about the other 2?
Which from the ovaries.
From the ovary. Okay. Then which ones are responsible? Which hormone is responsible for stimulating the follicles?
FSH.
Very good. And what is the work of estrogen and progesterone?
Estrogen.
Go ahead.
Okay. Estrogen builds the uterus lining and stops FSH from being produced to prevent multiple eggs from maturing in a cycle. And progesterone maintains the lining during the middle and end of the menstrual cycle.
And Miss, estrogen also stimulates the LH hormone.
Perfect. So I hope this entire cycle is now clear. Any confusion in the entire cycle? No. Now I have something else.
This is the quiz, right?
Yep.
Arsh.
Hi, Arsh.
That's a little bit late, don't you think?
That's so early, Arsh. Oh my god. Miss, he hasn't even connected to audio.
I'm
Arsh, it's so early.
so see, Miss, my drama group has to present a drama play on Monday. So I had to. So some people came to my house and we rehearsed a drama play. That's why I couldn't, because I had to prioritize drama because the summative was on Monday.
Okay. Acha, now I want you to switch on the camera and please take the quiz that is there now. Okay, ready?
Which quiz, Miss?
Here. We did the entire topic on menstrual cycle, but I've recorded the
Did
session.
Kahoot again, miss?
Yeah.
Arsh, I'm not there to help you this time.
Help me in what?
Okay, oops.
No one helps me.
Yeah.
Priya is there. Arushi,
Yes, one second.
Arsh, Ahan,
Yes, I'm learning.
Ahan, Arya, Arsh, Riya. Arushi, do it.
Miss, I gave the wrong answer thinking that that's the right. Yaar. Miss, I thought the red one said something else.
Okay. All of you unmute yourself.
Think of, oh, well,
Yeah, I got that.
So I was confused between estrogen and progesterone because
Oh, estrogen.
okay, okay.
estrogen.
See, Miss, I know LSH, FH.
Kindly use the lesson now. You see the recording. I've recorded the session. See the recording. The confusion will be gone. Okay.
Okay, Miss, yeah.
ADH. What is
Uh-huh.
that?
How am I still fifth? What?
Miss up, yes.
Even I've guessed.
I have no clue.
Miss, I think I got this. Please say I got it. Oh, I don't know.
No one got it.
No one knew. Oh my god. Okay, I need to tell you what is endocrine and exocrine gland now for this.
Oh no!
What was that?
Wrong answer.
Oh.
Oh my god.
This I'm the only one that got it right.
Oh my
I knew I had the wrong answer. Like I knew it.
Let's go.
Miss, did I miss out on a lot in the session?
Yeah.
The entire menstrual cycle, beta.
Oh.
It was recorded though. Oh, no. Oh,
How did I got this right?
12.
This is obvious. This was taught in school.
Oh, miss.
Miss,
Sorry.
miss, wasn't it day 12 to 17?
12 to 17, but 14th day it is generally released.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I wasn't even here for the
Okay, we
session.
get it. You
It,
answered
man.
everything else wrong. Just all wrong.
Oh, no,
Just
wait.
like,
Oh, no, wait.
I messed it up.
Miss, what is
Let's
embryo?
go.
Like, why did I?
Isn't menstruation at the start?
No, it prepares for menstruation by the end of it. So that
What
is-
happens at the end of the menstrual cycle? Okay, not the ovulation, not implantation, not
So-
fertilization.
But
So
what is implantation?
Yeah, miss, what is it?
implantation is embryo getting implanted into the. This happens when pregnancy occurs.
But isn't it like day 1 to day 7 when menstruation happens?
Yeah,
End
but
of the
end
of-
cycle. So basically, it's what happens at the end of the cycle. So the new cycle starts. No.
Why is it labeled as day 1?
Ahan, you can't argue
Arey
with
yaar,
science.
Ahan was sorry. Ahan was sorry. Okay. Please continue.
No, but is there any other correct answer? Tell me first.
Miss, wait, what's the one? Miss, if you look at that graph one,
Hmm.
what was the last stage? Because I remember that ovulation and fertilization is in like
I'll show you.
Arey, but the last stage is to prepare for menstruation.
Wait,
Hold on, hold on.
this is that graph.
Here, here.
Yeah, miss, here. Day 1 to day 7 is menstruation. So that's at the
Arey,
end.
but then look at the last stage. It's the uterine lining
Ahan, can
detaches.
you argue
and
after class?
What happens at the
Wow.
end? Okay, Ahan, what happens at the end of the cycle? It is
That's the
correct that
next
uterine
one.
lining is going to shed, but the options that were given to you, what are those options here? Have a look.
Okay.
Look
fair
at the
enough.
options. Now look.
Middle of the Kahoot, Ahan.
Ovulation, implantation, fertilization, any of these occur?
No.
Then end of the menstrual cycle means now the new menstruation, the menstruation will start, right? Because the already uterine lining is shedding itself. Now preparing to shed, right?
Yeah, miss.
Yeah.
It's the
Just
pancreas.
what answer pancakes was
that
the
took a
pancreas.
while.
Pancakes?
Because I thought
Pancakes.
pancreas or pancakes.
Oh my god.
Miss, am I still first? I can't see.
Okay, I'll show you. Can you see my screen? You can see, no?
Yeah, miss, but it glitches a little.
Right.
Who just snorted? I swear it's just someone just snorted.
Which hormone causes uterine lining? Okay. Yes,
Yo,
Ria, you
Ria,
are-
just take a break, man.
Yes, I got that. I thought. I know this. Arey, but the answer
I
was
think I remember this. Please. Let's go.
Everybody
Well,
got
I'm
it?
not lost.
Nice. Last question.
I have no clue.
Oh no!
No! No, I swear to God, if I lose second,
Miss,
with
I
the-
don't know this one.
Miss, I literally knew
Miss,
this.
I don't know this one.
No, if I
It's
lose second,
literally like
because
I
of
know
this
the
question,
answer, but I
I'm so
still
mad.
didn't.
No!
No way.
No,
No way,
Did
I
lose
got it
second?
right.
Did I lose
I
second?
got it
Did I
right.
just lose
I
second?
was
No
fine. I
way.
didn't even know the answer.
Please. Yes! I think, yes, let's go. I'm still second.
No one cares.
Hey, shut up, man.
Nice.
Harsh.